Welcome to our Back to the Future interview series. In this series, we interview insights leaders from around the world, and together with them, we discover what the future might hold. Today, my fellow managing partner Erica van Lieven from our Sydney office is interviewing Christina Lee, and she is the head of digital and consumer planning at Pernod Ricard. And they discuss shifting gears in these unprecedented times, agility in research, and also brand activation in the future.
Christina, great to talk to you. Just introducing you to everyone, you're the head of digital and consumer planning at Pernod Ricard. And we had a chat recently, and you were telling me about how important research agility is key now and how much pressure you experience to realise market opportunities fast. So, can you elaborate on that for us a little bit?
Yeah, definitely. Thanks for having me, Erica. So, I think a lot of shifts have happened in the last few years, and a few drivers of that increased pressure is really just declining barriers to entry, digital and technology advancements and increased fragmentation. So, as a result of that, a lot of suppliers are facing that pressure to realize opportunities really fast and be more agile, review their legacy processes, review the way they used to do things. And for us especially, the pipeline has really changed and shifted the way we approach MPD pipelines. What we used to do is often look at, long-term strategic planning, look at developing 3 to 5 year pipelines. It's a very typical FMCG approach, but more and more the question is, well, why would you build it into a 3 to 5 year plan when you could potentially launch it tomorrow? And that's really the question we get a lot from retailers and consumers alike. So that puts a lot of pressure on us because we still need to deliver high quality. Quality is not something that we can still compromise, and that's an expectation of big suppliers and great brands. So how do we do that? And, research agility is one part of that, obviously one part of the innovation process. How do we make sure that we're testing more concepts than ever before? So whilst we used to be have a phased out approach with innovation, now it's about let's put in as many concepts as possible, test as many as we can that we think could be validated, and then how do we bring them to market as quickly as possible? So that means research agility, research methodology, and research cost are really impacted as a result of that need to deliver innovation faster than before.
A lot of pressures. And how does that play out with profitability for you in that kind of scenario? It must put a lot of pressure on the traditional thinking that you would build profitability over time.
Yeah, definitely. So, I think gone are the days where we could rely on one product delivering millions of dollars of sales in year one for us and put all your eggs into one basket. I guess for us, it's really looking at product life cycle in a new way.
Yeah.
Product life cycles aren't what they used to be. And that is just the dynamic of the new world, the new different, changing consumer expectations, the fragmentation of channels. So in that case, profitability per product is definitely lower than it ever was. And that puts challenges on us to then make sure that the investment behind each product development and innovation is more efficient and agile than before.
You mentioned also when we spoke about the pressure of fragmentation, which you've just kind of referred to, and particularly, I guess, in your market, you're competing not just with other big brands, but also within your distribution channel, you're competing. So that creates even more pressures, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. And, I think there are a lot more players in market than we used to have before. There are a lot of startup competitors, small players that now have the route to market, whether that's through digital or through, tech advancements. via logistics, they can now have the same opportunities as big suppliers do. And then there's also obviously different retailers also launching brands. There's international players coming in. So, with that increased competition in market, for us, it's really important that we launch products on time. We don't necessarily have to be the fastest to launch in market, because there are smaller players who are doing great things out there. And I think it's more us watching the market and going, if we see an opportunity and seeing growth out of these smaller players, could we potentially come out with something that meets that consumer trend or demand quickly enough to capitalize on that and really grow that category or grow that trend for the smaller player as well as us, and really invest behind it? Because the one difference we have is that we've got the support from marketing and that sort of increased advertising spend that we can do to really grow that segment.
So in this incredibly fast environment that you've just described, shifting gears seems to be something that you need to do. So is generating strong consumer insights that tap into new opportunities for growth still a top strategic priority for the business?
100%. If anything, it's more important than ever before. And especially right now, given the situation with COVID, of course, our company purpose is all about conviviality, which is all about bringing people together. And it makes it really challenging in the current situation to bring people together, of course, across events and social occasions. So for us, I think, but despite COVID, I think consumer insights for us allows us to have that point of differentiation versus other players out there, other suppliers, smaller suppliers. It's about trying to understand how we tap into opportunities that don't potentially exist today with consumers. But more specifically, when we think about COVID, something that we've done is really looked at how we approach conviviality in the world we're in today, and that new normal until we have that vaccine. And so an example of that is our virtual connections, and we've been able to really quickly bring to market virtual festivals. Working with key talent, we've been able to bring together wine tasting virtually as well. And if anything, in a way, as most consumers have said, they've connected with their international friends more than ever before. Similarly, it allows consumers to connect with us more intimately than ever before. So, where you would normally have to potentially travel to the Barossa to meet our winemaker, now you could be sitting in your living room and connecting with our winemaker with a private tasting, which is quite a great experience, an exclusive experience that people would love to have. So consumer insights is definitely something that we heavily invested in and want to make sure that we continue to challenge the way we work and develop experiences for consumers and connect with them.
And it sounds like COVID's been a bit of a period of experimentation for you digitally. Are there some things that you've done that have really changed the way you think about a digital connection with your consumers?
Yeah, it's been a challenge and opportunity at the same time, I would say. A lot of us, most of our advertising dollars or advertising spend will go towards events and festivals. Being a liquor company, obviously, we activated at a lot of music festivals. We activate Mumm champagne at the Melbourne Cup every year. So there's a lot of shifts we had to make as a result of COVID, but I think it's been incredible to see how quickly we've been able to shift our investment into digital connection through, like I said, the virtual experiences, through also making sure that we're investing more in digital media elements as well. So I think it's something that is is definitely, we already knew this was a trend, to be honest. We have been talking about how we approach, I guess, that second world or second life that people have virtually through avatars or through different platforms they use. Even within gaming, we've always talked about how do we connect with the avatar of a consumer digitally, and I think that's something that was always on the horizon for us and something we mapped as a longer term trend. But I think that really brought that to light a lot quicker. So we've been able to try a lot more things over the last 6 months to 12 months, and I expect that to just accelerate over time.
It's not inconsistent in talking to insights leaders, as we have been in the last month, to hear that COVID brought the future forward pretty quickly for a lot of people, and things that they thought were on the horizon, suddenly they found right in their front doorstep.
Yeah.
Yeah. That leads quite nicely to the other topic we were going to touch on, which is brand activation and how can you recover faster and better. Do you think brands that continue to invest in advertising and activation during this period will do better through the economic crisis? How are you looking at that at Pernod, and what are you doing and planning for in that respect?
Yeah, 100%. I think consumers are relying on brands more than ever before, especially now, as more companies out there start, cutting their budgets, cutting their investment. They're seeking connection, really, with the brands that they rely on. And a lot of consumers are disenfranchised by their government or by different corporations, large corporations. So they're looking to find change agents in their life. And I think there's an opportunity for brands out there, like some of the brands that we have in our portfolio, to drive a greater purpose and be a change agent in society, if that brand really speaks to that person and that consumer. So I think we're in a really good position to overinvest in this time. It would be the worst time to remove investment as a supplier. I think right now is the perfect time to really focus in on investment, focus in on your purpose, why your product plays a role, why your brand plays a role in that consumer's life, and how do you really support them through this time, and how do you play a role for them in their future.
Are you seeing any brands do that well here at the moment? Can you think of any examples that you think are actually, you look at that and you think, wow, I think they're really nailing that?
I'm just trying to think if there's Australian brands I can think of, but I think Patagonia, from a global brand perspective, has done an amazing job in terms of really standing for the purpose of sustainability. So they've actually played a role in petitioning with the government to change policies for the sustainable practices that they believe in. They had a campaign not too long ago about, I think it was, I'm trying to remember the specifics, but you could bring your old Patagonia wear, like clothing item, back in, and they would take that and fix it for you. So the idea is almost not, trying to help you get longer wear out of your current Patagonia jacket, rather than coming back in and buying a new one, which, obviously goes against anti-consumption, which goes against, obviously their P&L and what they're trying to do in terms of gross sales. Because as much as we have purposes as brands and companies, at the end of the day, we still have to make more sales. That's something that we can't avoid. So it was a really big move for them to support that. So I guess, however, they really believe that standing for that purpose and being change agents, that consumers will really stand by them and by their brand and believe in their purpose and continue to choose that brand over other brands moving forward, and will benefit them ultimately. So I think that's where a lot of consumers are starting to be a lot more savvy and have high expectations of brands. because they know better now. They know that
Yeah.
we have the resource, we have the capabilities to help them in their lives and stand for something.
How do you think that fits with the want it all consumer? We sort of often see in work we've done, consumers will tell us, solve the problem, but I'm not going to pay more, all of these kinds of things. How do you balance that as a big brand?
Yeah, it's a really good question, because I guess, I call it the trifecta, because, oh, is it the trifecta? I'm just trying to think. It's like purpose, product, and price. I think more, as much as we see in certain research, that consumers would pay more for products that are sustainable, products that, are local. There's still always a price ceiling that a consumer's willing to pay. And I think being able to, find the balance between, product quality, benefits, the price, as well as purpose, is if you can nail those three and get that balance right, that's when you're going to win in the market. You can't really do one without considering the other. Just because you've got great purpose, or I froze. Just because you've got great purpose, I guess pricing and products still need to stack up for that consumer.
It sounds like you're talking about a need for a really holistic need to understand your consumer in quite a deep way. Is that something that you're investing in?
Yeah, definitely. I think when I think about the partnership we have with you guys, with Insights, and the way we approach consumer insights, we like to look at it holistically. We know that there are so many nuances when it comes to consumer insights and choice, and that purchase decision hierarchy, that we need to make sure that we try to look at everything holistically. And one can't, we know that realistically, to ultimately get the consumer to choose our brands over another, they've got a million cues that they've gone through to really get there. So how do we make sure we play on all of those and have a good understanding of product, benefit, pricing, purpose, brand equity, so that then when they do get to that point of purchase and choice, they choose us over a competitor.
Thanks, Christina. Wow, it's the market's just getting more and more complicated and requiring you to operate at a faster and smarter level all the time. So it's been really good talking to you today and to hear that from your point of view. Thank you.
Thanks, Erica.
The conversation between Erica and Christina is a good reminder of the fact that in today's business world, we need to be hyper relevant for our customers and consumers. And secondly, it's a nice illustration of the quote of Klaus Schwab, who once said, "Today, it's not the big fish that eat the small fish, it are the fast fish that eat the slow fish."